I poured all of myself into this, you know. It, you know, as a, you know, I've long been a huge fan of the action genre, and this is kind of my humble offering, you know, to a genre I love so much. You know, I wanted to infuse it with some culture and social resonance. Along with, you know, some cool kicks, punches, and the odd elbow here or there. But you know, you know, I felt a huge responsibility to not only, you know, the kind of mythology that this story is based on, but, you know, these incredible actors that, you know, came at a really trying time in history and gave me their all. First and foremost, I think it's a revenge film about faith. You know, the beauty of religion, particularly in an uneducated kind of populace where, you know, the iconographies, the stories can be incredible teachers and inspirations and touch points for children, but at the same time how it can be monetized and weaponized. You know, particularly in, you know, well, everywhere in the world, to be honest. So there's that, and then there's also, you know, the idea of, you know, the caste system in India, you know, from the greatest action films like, you know, Game of Death with Bruce Lee, where he has to work his way up the pagoda to fight, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and that amazing sequence at the end, you know, where the bosses get tougher and bigger and badder. You know, I took that and I was like, wouldn't that be amazing to kind of, you know, start in this, like, you know, this club that this young man has to infiltrate, where he's in this windowless hellhole, you know, in this kitchen, serving dishes to the elite above him, and then he gets to the next layer where he's, you know, in the land of kings, which is the name of the club, King's Club, and the next layer above that is, you know, where the man-made gods are, and he must challenge those men too, the untouchables, the true untouchables. So, you know, a lot of the tropes of the genre I try to, you know, kind of bake in and kind of give different context to with this story. Yeah, I think people might be surprised when they see me drenched in blood, you know, biting a knife into someone's neck. They're like, God, Dev Patel's got a really sick brain. No, yeah, I mean, I grew up, I mean, I remember the first film that really captivated me. I snuck downstairs and watched Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon through the banister way past my bedtime. And I was utterly enthralled by this man with a similar pigment to me, dark hair, and you know, he captivated me. You know, I plastered his pictures all through my bedroom, and then that became my obsession with the action genre, from, you know, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, Sammo Hung, then the Indonesian guys that did the raids, and then I got introduced to the Koreans, Korean cinema, who, you know, they do revenge better than anyone. You know, to take those kind of influences plus, you know, the kind of Bollywood cinema that my parents were also watching, and kind of like mash these things together to kind of make this, you know, kind of bombastic, strange cultural cocktail, which is me. Slightly awkward and unruly at times too, but with a lot of heart. I think that's what this film is. You know, at its core, it's an anthem for the underdog, you know, and the everyman, you know, who has to, you know, face so much adversity, so much failure, and, you know, supported by other underdogs, is only when he realizes his true potential. The training montage was, it was my tip to, you know, like, you know, those legendary training montages, obviously from Rocky, and you know, I wanted to do a sort of musical piece because music is so big in the Indian culture, and I was like, you know, I obviously didn't want to do the dancing around a tree Bollywood thing or what we've done in Slumdog. And a very dear friend of mine who also worked on this film as a producer, Raghuveer Joshi, he's a huge Indian classical music fan, and you know, I'm into hip hop and all that kind of stuff. And once I started understanding the intricacies and the kind of commitment of this art form, which is, I wouldn't say it's a dying art form, but let's just say, you know, it's not getting the kind of real credit it deserves in a new burgeoning TikTok kind of world, you know. And I was like, you know, wouldn't it be amazing? In India, they call it a jugalbandi, which is like a call and answer. In jazz, it's like, you know, riffing with each other. And I was like, wouldn't it be amazing to do a kind of like hour training sequence to be with this maestro this guy they call Ustad, which means maestro, Zakir Hussain. He toured with Ravi Shankar, the Beatles. He came down quarantined for 2 weeks and played the tabla ferociously for 3 days. And I'm playing the bags, he's tearing up the drums, and we kind of have this wordless training sequence where he speaks with me through his instrument, like R2-D2 in a way. So there's a few jokes in there, and he kind of teaches this man rhythm and to tune his instrument. And we also infuse that sequence is when it goes from a singular call to action to something. He's fighting for a nation at that point. And it's one of my favorite sequences. It took us months and months to get right. I wanted to create an action hero that, wasn't like bursting out of his suit. He had to be a believable waiter, in this place. So, the idea was like to try and get as close to Bruce Lee shredded as possible. So it was lettuce, sweet potato, and salmon 3 times a day, every day, for months, while the crew was having the most delicious Indonesian food. And I would wake up in the morning and, be doing all of that action choreography, hitting the rubber bands, doing my best Jane Fonda. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. But yeah, he's kind of hopefully a more attainable, more realistic, authentic look at what, an underdog Avenger would look like. Not someone that, is going to take on 100 men and come out unscathed, has the perfect quip for every moment. He's a man dealing with extreme trauma, and he fails and tries and fails again. And it's only when he finds other underdogs like himself that, can believe in him and build him up that he really, finds his true potential. The film is an ode to my parents and my ancestry in a way, and, at its core, it's about the earth, it's about roots, it's an ode to an incredible mother as well, and how far someone will go to avenge someone he loves so dearly, his best friend, his teacher, his idol, for me, I just think I think there's a bit in it for everyone, really, but more than anything, I hope people are engaged in it and inspired by it. It's not like your usual action flick that, just starts with action and keeps going. There is plotting and building and a world build, and it's pensive, and then it absolutely explodes in the second act, and it's absolute mayhem. And I think, we got this huge reception at this festival, South by Southwest. People were whooping and hollering and throwing popcorn at the screen, and I'd never seen anything like it. So I think it's a fun film.